void set name. I'm taking in a string. Okay. And what I'm going to do is say this dot name is equal to name. And I'm going to do the same thing. Public string this time because I need to return a string. Get name. This dot. Oops. Return name. Okay. Now notice that because there's no discrepancy in these. In the gets, I'm not using this .age. You can, but it's totally unnecessary. All right. So, yeah, I use this .age here because of that discrepancy that I talked about earlier up here, and here there's nothing being passed, and because like I said, these variables only last as long as the method. It understands what I'm talking about when I just use age. So now I'm going to just go ahead and do this for all of them. Public void set height int height this dot height public height public int get height return height public int set weight this dot weight equals weight. Whoops. This is a void. No. Public int get weight. Return weight. And now this one's going to be a little bit different. Public boolean. This is a boy. So set gender. This is boolean. Boy. And I assume that if it's true, then it's a boy, and if it's false, then it's a girl, just because of the way that it's named. So this dot boy equals boy. Public. Oh, oops. Sorry, this is still void. Boolean. Get gender. Return boy. Okay. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is really kind of how messy this code looks. And it's really just a bunch of jumbled letters. So what I'm going to say is, I talked about how these were called get set methods. So I'm going to say get set methods for properties of person. And that's just going to really just give me an idea of what these are initially. And this seems really kind of pointless, but trust me, it helps in the long run. Then what I'm going to do is, this is really kind of just, you'll see this in C#, you won't have to write this out, but I find it really helpful. It doesn't, these are still single line comments, but what I did was I put summary there, and I'm going to give a summary of these two methods and just say gets and sets name. in summary, and then I'm gonna for this one, what I'm gonna put is well, actually, so first one sets name, this one's gets name, and then for this one we have a return type. So what I'm going to say is returns string name, and returns. These don't have any effect on your code. They're just comments, but it'll help when summaries get a lot larger. And I just showed that to you for your reference. I'm not going to sit here and copy paste it all out because that would be boring, but this will help you. So type up a quick summary of it. This sets the name, this gets the name, this sets the age, this gets the age, and then for the ones that have a return type, give the type and the variable. It really helps, trust me on that one. Oh, and the last thing that I want to point out is this will, let's make sure, okay, so everything completed, alright, should be good. But I want to point this out. Let's say, okay, this dot name, and name is a string. Okay, so this is a string right now, but what if I accidentally made it an int? So now I have this int name variable, right? And I'm setting it a string to an int. I come up with this error, and I'm going to extend this up here, and it says on the 19th line, notice that 19 right here, it's the 19th line of code, and by the way, if I go to, I think, view line numbers, you can see here's 19 again. So there's a problem with this line right here, and it says that the problem is incompatible types. Found int, required string, and here's the error. The error is with this one because this is an int and not a string. So this is a string and you're setting it equal to an int, and it doesn't work because they're not the same. It's kind of like you have this variable that's well, it's a string, so think of, if you go back here, Jeff. We'll use Jeff. It's like saying Jeff equals some number, and I'm just going to pick 3. That doesn't really work. Jeff is not equal to some number. Jeff is not some number. But Jeff is some text. I just put quotes there. It's text. Okay, in the same manner as 3 is some number. That works. This works. This works. That makes sense. Oops. This works. This works. Okay. So I'm going to have to go back here and change this back to a string. And I'm going to recompile it. Okay. So, tool completed successfully. Now, back over here. Remember what we were talking about before was that person B's age needed to be changed. Okay? So, Now I'm going to change the age via the set age method that we just wrote. So the set age method that we just wrote was set age, well, the header what looked like public void set age to int age, right? That's the header, and it looked like that once we added the curly braces. All right. So instead of this, though, what we need to do is apply that to the actual real life situation. So we need the application of this method header. All right. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to say b dot. So I've said the object of person object b dot, which means something of b. Kind of like when you see a group of files right here. Kind of the way that Computer Programming Club is a folder of school, which is a folder of documents. Okay, is the backslash is a folder of, right? Dot implies that what comes after it, which is going to be set age, is something of B's. So it's going to look at B's properties and use the set age method in person, in the person class file. So I'm going to set age to 19. He just had a birthday. Okay, that's the simple way to do this. But what I'd rather see you guys do, this is more efficient and better, because if you think about a real-world application of this, this information will come from other sources, not you. It'll come from text boxes and things when real end users are typing stuff in. So you, as the coder writing this, won't know these numbers. So just like in math, you have to use a lot of variables. So instead of 19, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a comment. Instead of 19, what I'm going to use is what I gave myself, or what, whatever coder it was, gave me in the person.java class file. I'm going to say b.setAge. And remember what I said about +1? Well, now I need to tell it that I want to add 1 to his current age. So I'm going to say b.getAge, add 1 to it. Okay, so here's what's going on. I'm going to separate this. B's calling the method of setAge. And setAge, let's go back to this, setAge calls for an integer. Okay, so here, this needs to be an integer. This needs to return an integer. Well, we're calling b.getAge. Let's go back here. GetAge returns an int of age. So now I'm adding 1 to it. So whatever the age is, it's adding 1 to it and setting it equal to the new age. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this real quick. I'm going to say system.out.println b.getAge. So this is going to tell me what his age was before. Now remember to put comments. Age before change. Change